they're starting on the southern end, and they've got to go along with that, and they'll have to lower their fingers can be pointed at the tribes when the stocks crash.
Active Lambo. Both.
Memories are born of champions like Nelson, Hogan, Palmer, and Nicholas, of elegance in victory and grace in defeat. Girl Jean Sarazen was the first to tee off a short while ago for birdie. Azier went on to par the
flag.
I think everyone in this room knows that
food shelf for the same period of time. Edward Schaefer, the Benedictine Health Center Auxiliary. This in 1993, and is all Ducks Unlimited and the American Association of Retired Persons and the Minnesota Forestry Association. He is a life member of the National Education Association and Blood Donors Group and has spent 20
possibility of that occurring is that a lot of the people that come to the East Shelf do walk and don't have transportation, and the Salvation Army is out in West End, so that could be a problem for some people who don't have any car or access to a car.
Involvement in what we're doing, so that possible agreements with the university, so that how what they see as important. And before we had a fundraiser. Well, I want to continue working on the things that I've been working on. I believe that my leadership has been very positive in that it has been, we have been able to set goals and work on goals rather than have confrontation and fighting. Been very positive for our community because we have been able to be positive and say, this is what our community wants and this is where we're going, and I would like to continue that progress for the city of Superior.
We couldn't assist the individuals who are in need right now if you weren't here. So it really does take one busload of people to go out and make an impact on a community.
Angela Urbant's got the group ready to fight the flood. Every volunteer with a story. Kevin Chinook of Isanti lost everything to a house fire 4 years ago just after being married. Volunteers helped him through.
I've been there. My wife's been there.
and paying back means a lot to me.
Once there, a quick bite and a briefing.
You're going to be doing some lifting, you're going to be doing a lot of cleaning, you're going to be in a lot of sludge.
First stop, 15th Avenue, a dozen damaged homes.
I need 1 adult and 4 young people.
Volunteers are out in front of Marlene Moe's house. This is the yard that used to lead to what's left of her backyard. All the way up and down 15th Avenue, you see these dikes built up. It really looks like a battle zone, war against the river. River's gone down considerably. It was all the way up to the base of the houses here on 15th Avenue. It's come down considerably, but is still a major headache. Kevin, who we met before, is inside mopping up the mess.
If anybody needs help now, it's these people. It's cold, it's wet, just no fun for them. They've lost everything.
Dozens of students joined forces today, working together inside and outside.
I hope we're helping a lot of people, and it's a good thing to come and do it. It's fun when you can do it with all your friends.
And their enthusiasm is keeping the flooded out residents hopeful.
I thank you for coming. I just thank everybody who's helped us. We just are really grateful and hope that we can repay them.
Check if you said at 10. Okay.
As the Red River empties into the streets of downtown Grand Forks, the National Guard used boats and military trucks to rescue downtown residents. Whole families trapped by 5 feet of rising water and orange crackling flames.
We decided to stay in our home. We were 3rd floor. We were safe.
I was going to stay, but the fire convinced me to go.
And the fire that began Saturday is still burning in some buildings as planes swept in from above, dropping water and chemicals to help put it out. City officials don't know how the fire started, but heavy winds helped spread it, and the flooding kept fire trucks away from it. They say 6 buildings are destroyed, 5 are damaged, luckily no deaths. And as the red continues its rampage, the city's water and sewer systems flooded and failed, roads closed. Exhausted city officials ordered 75% of Grand Forks to evacuate, told 30,000 residents to leave their homes and fast if they haven't already. But the mayor, whose own home is flooded, showed prairie optimism.
I do not feel bad for one reason, because we will rebuild, and we do have faith.
The Red River has another foot to go before it crests sometime Monday or Tuesday. Then it'll be another week before streets are passable, at least 3 weeks before Grand Forks has safe water to drink, not just curse. Bob Beard, NBC News.
Well, we saw that nobody else in our school, there's not that many clubs, and the ones that are formed are not really, they didn't really do anything for Earth Day, and so we thought that we should do something for Earth Day. Kind of different.
Things are going really well. We're full, we're working together. We've got good communication with the city. Things are positive.
Sailing, aviation, law enforcement, agency navigation.
More than likely.
Where are you going to be on tonight?
Well, oftentimes we deal with kids who are out late at night, and they claim that there are no jobs available to them. I think if the employment opportunities were there for them, they might not be out at night.
I think a lot of them have to get off their butts and start coming to places like these instead of just sitting around and say there's no jobs out there, because there are. They just matter of having to get up and look for them. So I'm glad they have these, and I hope they have more.
Okay, great, Eric, thanks.
It dropped, basically. It dropped at that point in time. He had stalled, and it pretty much dropped straight down, but he landed it on the front nose gear first, and it bounced a little bit once and then settled. Looked like a hard landing. I wouldn't want to be in there.
David Lum and a friend were sitting in the airport lounge when they saw a small light aircraft take off. He says the plane was airborne about 80 to 100 feet off the ground when the trouble started.
Next thing I saw was him baking real heavy to the right, and it almost looked like he was going to try to land on the runway, not the one he took off from, but the crisscross runway to that one. And instead he leveled it off a little bit and basically pancaked it right into the ground.
The Cessna crashed on a dirt path between the two runways. Rescuers from the Air National Guard arrived within minutes, pulling the 3 occupants from the plane and securing leaked fuel. Witnesses say at the time of takeoff there was no rain and a slight crosswind, but accounts vary on how that wind may have played a role in the accident.
Wind didn't look like it was too much of a factor. It just looked like something went wrong.
And the wind was coming out of it looked like the wind was coming out of the left, or out of the west-hand side. And so, you know, I've done a little bit of flying, but not enough to know exactly what was going on. You know, I'm pretty close to a pilot's license, but he looked like he overcorrected himself.
It could be 4 o'clock, it could be 5:45, could be 8:44 tonight, 7:30.
Okay. Thank you.
The crash caused several delays for both departures and arrivals. Despite the crash, most travelers said they have no fear of getting on an airplane. In Duluth, Angela Wang, Channel 6 News.
I think that in the case of installing of curbing in 48th and 40, between 48th and 49th would be gilding the lily. I think this is a chance for us to exercise judicious fiscal responsibility.
Whether it was too much or enough, it's produced some good results. But I think we're to the point now where the Canal Park area doesn't need the subsidy of the city anymore. And I think in these times, when we see that we're going to have welfare reform,
completely cracked, and I can bring you pictures of it. So why would they?
Not very effective, really, to skip a block. And again, in this particular,
are part of that scale. The road in front of my house on 25th Avenue is a piece of cement called granitoid, which is one of the earliest roads, cement roads built in Minnesota. There are apparently only 2 cities in North America that have such construction. Grand Forks, which the status of whose roads remains in question, and Duluth. That piece of road is historic.
If you work in a noisy area, if you have noisy hobbies, you know, you hunt, things like that, you probably should be having your hearing checked once a year. Otherwise, it's more or less on an as-needed basis. If you
On our way now. Watch that top, Mick. Let's back off, Mick.
An entire city block in flames and no way for firefighters to get close enough to fight it. Was anyone trapped inside? For weeks, this city prayed that the answer to that question was no. But with 29 people still unaccounted for late last week, they called in the dogs to be sure. These dogs, highly trained with a rare combination of skills.
We need dogs that are not only capable of moving comfortably on the rubble and searching the rubble, but that are also capable of finding minute human remains. And that combination is something that's been very difficult to come by, so we've gone out to the East Coast for that.
But by the time they arrived at the Grand Forks Airport this morning, the list of missing people had been narrowed to just one, a custodian. Officials thought they had also located. As heavy equipment picked through the rubble this afternoon, the word was official. The list of the missing was 0. Everyone's prayers had been answered, even those of the experts who had come so far to help.
Don't worry about that, okay? Seriously.
How old are we talking?
Mid-teens, or mid-20s, sorry.
Mid-20s. Okay, but
Took off what he had. Right. The woman coming this way and dumped the gun right down there. Oh, Kevin's got it. It's a plastic.
Spring is finally here. And see the garden. Planning. Of time. part-time garden to a lot of food, or ornamental gardening is a very different style of gardening. For example, within vegetable gardens, everything is usually arranged in rectangular, very straight rows. However, with ornamental gardening, you can use any different shape or size you would like to let your personality shine through. If a flower garden is what you want, then you need to consider the time and duration of the bloom. Choose a plant that blooms all season, or choose a variety of plants that bloom at different times. That way, you'll always have at least some color in your garden. Now, ornamental gardening doesn't always have to mean flowering plants. There's a large variety of non-flowering plants that can really make an attractive garden arrangement. For example, you might want to consider basil. Now, in planting your ornamental garden, you really need to make sure you take into account the height of the full-grown plant. For example, if you want taller plants like these, they should be planted along the back or the outside edge. Now, if you're looking for something a little shorter, maybe like the plants we have along here, make sure they're planted along the very edges of the garden, giving you more of an accent. And finally, you need to take into consideration what kind of conditions your garden is under. Is it in a very sunny spot? What kind of soil moisture do you have? What kind of drainage is available? Each plant has very specific requirements that it needs in order to grow, and you can usually find that information on the back of the card that's included with each plant. Now, here are a few plants that grow well here in the Northland. For example, geraniums here are a very popular plant. Next to that, we have your very beautiful peach begonia, a very new and very beautiful plant just coming out now. And then your always popular impatiens. Now, with gardening, you need to make sure you remember one thing, and that's to have fun. For the past week, we've talked an awful lot about how to put together a garden and how to take care of one. But what if you really don't have room for a garden, or your income level doesn't allow you to put one together? Well, there are options available to you, and they're called community gardens, and this is how they work.
The mission of the Duluth Community Garden Program is to help people put food on their tables. And one of the things that we do is we lease out garden plots to people. They're 20 by 20 plots. And we lease them out on a sliding fee scale based on income. And so it costs anywhere from $5 to $30 for the season, and that includes spring tilling.
Now there's much more to community gardening than providing an area to plant seeds and work the soil. It also gives you an opportunity to meet new people and to make new friends.
We'll eat the soups and we'll have breads and fruits and just whatever people want to bring in from their gardens. And we just share and have a great time. And then we swap stories about what's gone on during the summer and how we've dealt with our gardens and what's happened. And it's just a real great social time.
Well, as we've shown you today, community gardening is a great way to get involved with people in the community, make a few new friends, and also to plant your own garden to give you some vegetables for later on in the wintertime. Now, if you're more interested in getting involved in the community gardening programs here in Duluth, it's easy to do. All you have to do is call the Duluth Community Gardening Program. If you're in a different city, I think you just need to call your city offices, and I'm sure they'll be able to set you up. With photojournalist Don Larson, I'm meteorologist Jason Poole for Channel 6 News.
Yeah, because you gotta have the parents sign.
Well, it's just kind of thrilling to see a young boy or girl pick up a bike and ride it. Bikes have always been kind of a dear spot to me. I remember my first bike, and I think most people, whether you're 85 years old or whether you're 30 years old, you remember your first bike.
Out there, let the Masonic Lodge distribute the bikes to kids.
Is this in addition to the 50 that you've given out this morning? So 30 to the, and I used the
We've given about 100.
Soil preparation is probably the single most important step within gardening. The quality of your plants is directly related to the quality of your soil. So once you've decided upon a look and a design for your garden, it's time to begin preparing the soil for planting. Since the soil here in northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin is mostly clay, it's a good idea to till the soil down about 12 to 18 inches. That way the plant's roots can get good penetration, and you can either do that by hand or use a power tiller. Now once your soil has been tilled up, it's probably a good idea to add a little bit of compost to your soil, and you can get your compost at your local garden supply store. Now the best way to apply it will be just to scoop it up out of the bucket or container that it comes in, just sort of throw it on here like this, and then just rough it in with a rake just to kind of get it mixed into the first layer of topsoil. Now we're not done quite yet. It's a good idea to maybe add just a little bit of fertilizer to your soil. Now a good bet would be like a 10-10-10 mixture, which stands for 10% nitrogen, 10% phosphorus, and 10% potassium. But that'll depend greatly on the kind of soil you have and the kind of plants you're putting in. So it'd be a good idea to check with your local garden expert. Now once you get your fertilizer, you just add it very easily like you're feeding chickens, but it's important not to add too much. Remember, with fertilizer, more is not better. You could burn your plants. Just spread it out really evenly across the topsoil. Well, although soil preparation might seem like an awful lot of work, it's a very important aspect of gardening, and it will really pay big dividends for you later on in the year. The concept of growing your own food is nothing new. The method and scale may have changed a bit over the years, but with increased concern over chemicals in our fruits and vegetables, more people are getting back to basics and planting their own vegetable gardens. The weather here in northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin has a lot to do with the type of vegetables that we can grow. This map shows the hardiness zones across the United States. In northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin, the only plants that will grow well here are those suited to zones 3 and 4. Zone 4 is the relatively warm climate along Lake Superior, and Zone 3 is further inland. Now here are some vegetables that do grow well here in the Northland. For example, peas is a plant that you can plant in mid to early April and they'll do very well. Radishes are another very hardy plant and should do very well here in the Northland. Now if you like cabbage, cauliflower, or broccoli, it would be a good idea to get seedlings and plant them in early May to get the best crop by harvest time. Some other popular vegetables are corn, green beans, and carrots. Each type of vegetable needs to be planted in a certain way. That information can be found on the back of the seed packet or on the tag included with most seedlings. If you have any questions, be sure to ask your local garden expert for tips.
Do you plan on paying them?
Yeah, I didn't know how many I had, so.
Have they sent you notices, or what kind of?
Yeah. I guess I haven't gotten around to those. So.
You're looking at one of the worst parking ticket offenders in the city of Duluth. Chris Backus has 22 unpaid parking tickets on his '96 Saturn when we found him. The city has sent him notices, increased his fine, and even put a warrant out for his arrest. All this just to get him to pay his tickets, but he still hasn't paid them.
Well, I don't feel very good, I guess, so I'll get that taken care of.
You plan on paying them though?
Yep.
In fact, Chris Backus isn't the only person not paying his parking tickets. Here's a computer printout of all the unpaid parking tickets in town. These people owe hundreds of thousands of dollars to you and me, the taxpayers. Here's one, Sarah Ann Blade. She has 28 unpaid parking tickets. If you let a ticket go unpaid for about 2 months, the city issues a warrant for your arrest. We wanted to know why people let things get this far out of hand. So we tracked down some of the top offenders. Christy Thompson had 27 unpaid tickets on her '93 Oldsmobile at the beginning of the month. And you plan on paying them then?
Absolutely.
What are you going to work out?
A payment plan, and I called the other day. That's the best I can do. They said I can do that, but I have to be there at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Okay. You knew you had gotten this many tickets?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But Christy says she has a reason why she's gotten so many parking tickets. She blames it on the city. She works downtown where the parking is scarce. She says she's forced to park in a metered space and is unable to plug the machine all day. Her tickets have gotten so out of hand, the city towed her car a few months ago. Since she's gotten her car back, she's racked up more tickets she's not paid. Some people blame Gordy Sather for their ticket trouble. He tickets cars parked in front of expired meters, parked in loading zones, or parked in no space at all.
Hi.
Just get my tabs.
Oh, okay. Well, you need to park at a meter in the future in order to do any kind of business around here.
Sorry.
Okay.
I pulled into this spot, and then the guy took it on me, so I'm like, I just run up there quick.
Well, you might get a ticket that way.
Gordy gives about 70 tickets a day and angers almost all of the people he's giving tickets to, like Kelly Dalton. She's received 26 parking tickets on her '95 Ford truck that she hadn't paid when we last checked. Again, the city has sent her notices and put out a warrant for her arrest.
Why haven't you paid your tickets? Why do you have so many tickets?
I'm not going to talk to you, thanks, though.
Are you planning on paying them?
I think some people just don't think anything is going to happen. And it amazes me always because we send them notices that tell them what's going to happen.
Police don't have the time to track down every person with unpaid tickets, but if they do happen to stop you and you have an overdue ticket, you'll be arrested on the spot. Ignoring tickets can save you $10 today, but it could eventually cost you a trip to jail. In Duluth, Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News.
People seem to readily ignore parking fines. It's like a nuisance to them. They ignore a $10 ticket, it becomes 30, then 35, and then their license plates get suspended on the car.
That's exactly what happened to Kevin Walsh, one of Superior's top parking ticket offenders. He received about 15 parking tickets on his 1981 Mercury Zephyr that he's not paid. He's been sent notices by the police Court dates have been set and he's blown them all off. The amount of the fine has gotten so high that police have revoked his car's registration. It's now illegal to drive and even park this car on the street.
I guess it makes you wonder what it takes to get people to stop violating.
We spotted Kevin's car on the street and it was full of tickets. Tickets on the window, tickets on the door, tickets near the seat, and as police showed us, more tickets stuffed in the glove compartment. There were so many unpaid tickets, police towed the car.
That 10-4 came back toward Kevin Walsh.
His little first $10 parking ticket is going to cost him about $700 or $800.
We caught up with Kevin Walsh and asked him about his unpaid parking tickets.
But can you just answer why if you're planning on paying them?
Oh yeah, I plan on paying them. I didn't know that my car was gone until I just saw it.
Yeah.
I probably should call and get my car back, huh?
Yeah. So did you know you had that many tickets?
I know I had a few, but not that many.
And what do you plan on doing about it now?
Getting some money up so I can pay for them so I can get my car back.
Police say, like Kevin, most people in Superior are given tickets for not obeying calendar parking.
Calendar parking, calendar parking.
Look at that.
Calendar parking, calendar parking.
Parking tickets in Superior bring in nearly $75,000 each year. But to date, there's over 100,000 that are unpaid. That's money owed to you and me.
Mondays are the busiest day. Sometimes I write like 2-3 books on Mondays because calendar parking switches over.
Here's the lady that writes all those tickets, Jody Syring.
I make a lot of people unhappy. I'm not very well liked in Superior.
Superior has only one full-time ticket officer, but she covers a lot of ground. Jody drives an average of 50 miles a day, ticketing about 25 people, including Kevin Walsh. As for Kevin's car, when we last checked, it was still sitting in the impound lot, and his tickets were still sitting unpaid. In Superior, Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News.
This is the hardest one for me to do. The least intimidating looking, but the hardest.
People have to understand you don't have to go to the gym for 2 hours, okay? And you hear people, geez, I was at the gym 2 hours today. I know, but I watched and you got about 12 minutes of work in, you know? So do something and do it effectively. And they might start out okay, and then by the end they're tired, so they'll drop their shoulders and they'll swing or they'll use their legs, okay? And right now, you're not working your bicep muscle, you're working other things. Just be using nice long strides, okay? And again, you see people, okay, that'll be holding themselves up like this, and she's all the weights on their arms, okay, to catch their breath. Or they'll be leaning forward, okay, hanging like this. Nine, there you go. So two more. There you go. Good job. Keep going, good focus. So two more. There you go. Good job. Keep going, good focus. Part of your routine. Make it a priority in your life. Find that time. And I say if we can get you through that first 6 months, chances are you're going to continue on with the program. Tight now. Nine, there you go. So two more. There you go. Good job. Keep going, good.
Another difference I've noticed, I guess we'd all like to say we'd be able to lose weight. I've increased the amount of muscle that I have, but I have lost some inches too, so that's always good. And I'm a lot stronger, and I can see that not only just in my activities, but also from the charting that I've been doing with Mark too, to look at how much my weights have increased on the machines I'm working on or the free weights that I'm using. This is the hardest one for me to do. The least intimidating looking, but the hardest.
An honor for me to introduce to you again our commencement speakers and our first graduates.
With my heart, together we did that. We did what we thought was right, and we did what we really wanted to do. And public service in a free society like America has just been magnificent. So for those who are interested in public service, I hope they'll think seriously about it.
She was doing great today, wasn't she?
I've had enough. Yeah, me too. Who do you think you're pushing around? We're not cattle, you know.
It's cold up in them thar hills. Wait until Dorothy turns on the heat.
You know.
And do the boys find gold? Why, their mop find romance?
Some women can love any type man, but not me. I've got to have a beast of a man. Do you hear me? A beast.
Is a wolf considered a beast? Oh, I thought I was getting a little drafty.
With this check on behalf of our employees.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. And Ms. Beasley, on behalf of SMDC. Thank you. This has been a donation from the heart. We at SMDC are very proud of our employees and the people who have been able to reach into their pockets at this point in time to help their friends and relatives and strangers even who live in the Grand Forks area. So.
This is great for videos, you know?
Yeah.
I could say I'm just kidding.
Talking checks.
Okay, everyone looking right here. Turn this one a little bit there. Right here. 1, 2, 3. And again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you.
Doing a fall cleanup is real good for your lawn. Get the leaves off of it. Keep anything that sits on top of your lawn and causes a lack of oxygen is going to cause you problems. It's going to allow for mold to set in, things like that.
At FAA, Guy Gardner, who is the Associate Administrator, Airlines Aircraft. It was carrying... Well, I just simply want to do what the words of the law say. Allow people to carry boats from one lake on which motors are permitted to another lake on which motors are permitted by motorized means in between, and no gimmicks, fairness for the people.
It's your drivers. It's not the speed limit that hurts everything. It's your drivers. They're the main ones you got to watch.
Park Hill Cemetery in the woodland community of Duluth was vandalized on Monday night, May 26th. Duluth police believe young people broke through the cemetery fence and were having a party when the vandalism started. Cemetery markers and planters were the targets of the vandals. They kicked and pushed over some of the stones and upset planters. 17 monuments were overturned, and at least 3 of them were broken. The estimated cost was over $1,000. While most people honored the dead on Memorial Day, these vandals were out desecrating their graves. Call Crime Stoppers if you know who the vandals are. We'll keep your name anonymous and pay as much as $1,000. Our numbers are 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH. That's 723-3683.
Though they save lives, airbags were faulted for killing 40 children and infants and 27 adults, mostly small women, in wrecks they otherwise would have survived.
I would prefer not to have it right now because I'm more scared of it than for safety.
Apparently they come out too strong. What a 200-mile-an-hour movement, that's pretty strong coming up against your face.
The National Transportation Safety Board agreed and called for more rapid development of airbags for all sizes of drivers and passengers, even calling for an aviation-type black box recording device for use in accident investigations.
Airbags are in the news, but it turns out seat belts are far more crucial.
The safety board said the number of people who die every day from not using seat belts comes to the equivalent of one major plane crash a day. The board found only about 68% of Americans use seat belts compared to 94% in other countries, and called on cities and counties to rigidly enforce seat belt laws and to pass new laws requiring children under 12 to sit in back seats. That and a media campaign could save more than 5,000 lives a year and billions in health care costs. The irony is that airbags were developed mainly to save people who refuse to wear seat belts.
The controversy over airbags would not exist today if 20 years ago our political leaders had had the guts to require people to buckle up.
The NTSB's recommendations now go to automakers and federal and state agencies for action. In Washington, Sandy Gilmore, Channel 6 News.
The Minnesota DNR is cracking down on personal watercraft. Starting this weekend, the DNR will be stepping up its enforcement through saturation patrol.
Well, the saturation patrol is mainly due because we have so many accidents on personal watercraft, and it's increasing year after year.
Increasing so high that officers knew they needed to do something. They hope saturation patrol will be the answer.
We need to see your fire extinguisher.
They'll be stopping watercraft to make sure that they have the safety equipment on them, make sure they're wearing a life jacket, make sure they're having a fire extinguisher on board, and just maybe just training them and teaching them the safety rules that they might not know.
The DNR will be patrolling on jet skis. They'll be targeting Minnesota lakes where accidents are common. Accidents here on Pike Lake are common. Greg Schmedeke knows firsthand.
Didn't see us until they were on top of my partner, and they obviously didn't see me at all. I didn't see them coming. The next thing I knew, I was hitting the head.
Residents who live along Pike Lake say they support the DNR's enforcement to keep their lake safe.
Like last summer, they were on like every weekend and that patrolling jet skis.
And you think it's a good idea?
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll save some lives by having our officers out there in full force.
In Pike Lake, Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News.
The properties that are owned by grandmas in the area.
We're turning away conventions every year, so we have to look at some type of expansion,
And certainly option is to come across here. There's options to go over there. I pulled together a task force to talk about various ideas. We're really in the beginning stages at this point.
You might be familiar with this red itchy rash you get from poison ivy, but there are ways to protect yourself from getting it.
It's helpful to become familiar with what the plant looks like. It's not a hard plant to identify once you've seen it.
You can see where the 3 leaves are joined together at the same point.
People should be aware of what the plant looks like. The rash is caused by a resin on the plant. It can be on the leaves, it can be on the stem, it can be on the roots, so people can get it even if they're digging in the ground and come up into contact with the roots of the plant.
You'll notice some itching, a red rash at first, and usually it starts forming little blisters, kind of like chicken pox blisters, within the rash.
If you do come in contact with poison ivy, there are some treatments you can use. First, immediately wash the affected area with warm soapy water. Make sure to wash your hands and fingernails as well. After washing the area, you can use a 1% hydrocortisone cream available from your local drugstore. If the rash begins to blister, try using cold wet compresses 3 times a day for 20 minutes. And finally, if symptoms aren't improving, be sure to contact your doctor. To keep from being infected, it's also important to know where poison ivy grows.
Locally on Park Point, there's very dense outcroppings of poison ivy, especially on the far end past the residential area.
And if you know you're going to come in contact with poison ivy, make sure you dress appropriately. Wear long pants, long sleeves, and gloves. In Duluth, Kristen Kunze, Channel 6 News.
Oh, I love it. What do you like the best? The water. Just love it. It's like being at the ocean, but only 3 hours from the cities. It's wonderful.
And the city's done such a wonderful job with this lakefront and this restoration they've been working on for years and years.
Like about it?
I love the city. I was up here 20 years ago, and it was kind of beat up. And to come back up here now and to see it, Duluth should be real proud of themselves. It's beautiful up here.
Well, I like the way it's built on the hills, and I thought that was really nice, but it's also more historic, I guess, looking than I expected it to be.
But most of the people converging on the Northland this weekend are obviously here for Grandma's Marathon. More than 11,000 are running.
I'm here to run Duluth. I've heard a lot about it. You know, Grandma's Marathon, and my wife's family's from Minnesota, so run the marathon and visit some family.
I just heard it was a good one to run. I heard about the party.
Oh, so you're here for the race or the party?
Both.
Okay. What do you think about the city?
We just got here.
So you haven't seen much?
No.
What do you plan on doing while you're here except for the run?
Americans love their wheels. And wherever rubber meets the road, leadfoots are bound to follow. But today, the leadfoots have triumphed. Against the better judgment of Minnesota State Patrol, speed limits will go up on 1,500 miles of Minnesota roads, even though all of the safety measures proposed to go along failed.
We got none of those except the higher speed limits. So now it's incumbent upon us to do what we can with our existing resources to where we're already overtaxed and taking on additional responsibilities.
So instead, state troopers will work overtime and crack down harder as new limits on these roads, among others, increase. In the metro, 35E going north and south outside city limits will increase to 70 miles per hour. 35W going north from 694 will increase to 65. And the 694-494 loop will rise to 60. In greater Minnesota, the new speed limit on 35 straight to Duluth and south to Iowa will be 70, 94 heading to Moorhead will be 70, and Highway 10 going west out of the metro will rise to 65.
State Patrol 911.
No one here in communications is looking forward to it. Rick Juth says he gets a lot of complaints about speeders already.
They'll call in, there's 2-3 cars weaving in and out of traffic. They must be going 80, 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think people drive fast enough as it is now. And when I'm driving down the highway and people are flying past me, I don't want to have to try and catch up with the general traffic.
But Katie and others will just have to move over to the right or find some newly legal speed demons on their bumpers.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Hey, first time on national television from Duluth, Minnesota. It's Bob Jensen. Welcome him, would you please? Hello, buddy.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
hi, Rick.
Nice to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
We here at QVC, we are committed to solving some of the major problems in our society. We've got a big problem. If you're at a football game or a racing event, you're at a baseball game, and you've got one of these little coolers about 2-3 hours after you've been to that event, you open it up, what have you got? Warm beer. How terrible a problem is that, huh? Warm soda, lousy sandwiches. This has been out here for about 3 hours right now. All the ice is melted.
There isn't any ice left in here at all.
Bunch of water in there, buddy.
Bunch of water in there.
Why? Because if you've got, see what I mean?
Yep.
You got one of these plastic coolers, a lot of people may not realize that it's insulated somewhat on the outside.
It is insulated on all the perimeters except the lid.
What's the deal with the lid?
The lid is a...
After speaking with some of the neighbors and family, kind of get a clue on who this Mr. Foster really was, and then we could probably venture out and say maybe who's involved here.
the Holiday Inn for that system, and the Renaissance program which we developed to beautify the greater downtown. Accessible to the Skywalk system when it's fully developed.
As a person living here, we get more than we would otherwise get if we didn't have all those visitors. So I think it's important as we move forward to remember that we're doing it for both the economic activity that visitors bring to the community, but also the quality of life that it provides for the residents.
We want to thank all the hundreds of friends that David had. The time has now come when we can grieve for our son David. A brother, an uncle, a godfather, and a friend.
I would like to be able to go back into Trout and Basswood Lake and fish and camp.
Since he was 7, Bill Sherridge shared his love of fishing in the Boundary Waters with his father. But 2.5 years ago, Bill lost his legs in a train accident. Since then, he's been unable to soak in the sounds of the rippling waves on some of those lakes. Bill says because there are no motorized portages, he's restricted to which lakes he can fish on.
I'll get onto the side and then you can.
But others that are disabled, like Maggie Willie, believe they can still experience the solitude of nature without motorized portages.
It is difficult, but I know that when I choose to come up here, if I don't want to have that challenge, there's other lakes I can go to that are a lot easier to get into.
And the debate continues in Congress. U.S. Senator Rod Graham wants to reopen the 3 motorized portages, while U.S. Representative Bruce Vento opposes that.
80–90% of the permits are being used, so it is feasible to get across the portage with a boat and a motor on it. And many people are doing it and have been doing it since the court case which removed the trucks.
So sure, is it possible? Yeah, it is feasible. But you're stretching the word feasible, and it doesn't cover anybody, or everybody, I should say. It covers maybe a few. But so somehow we're saying, well, we can protect certain parts of the population, but we don't care if these others can or can't do it.
Push the boat back to the lake!
Senators, representatives, along with their supporters, took to their boats and canoes to prove each of their points, whether this is feasible for all. In the Boundary Waters canoe area, Angela Wang, Channel 6 News.
Yeah, I think I can stick with them, yeah. You're not going for the motorboat.
It's a definite possibility because the fire started on the front of the church and it was to the left of the entrance door and going right up the exterior wall, and there's no reason for a fire to start there other than it could have been possibly set.
We have spoken to many of the players regarding the family members, friends of Mr. Foster's, work employees, everyone that we have that could be included in this investigation. Maybe, hopefully, we can focus on to one or two individuals that we know that could very possibly be the suspects here.
The Superior Fire and Police Departments are investigating 8 fires that have occurred in their city since July 20th. Some of those fires were possible arsons. On Tuesday morning, July 29th, someone placed a can of flammable liquid on a windowsill in a house in Tower Avenue. He lit the can and took off running. Even though the fire department was called immediately, the fire still did some serious damage. 2 of the 8 fires started in empty businesses and 5 were in vacant buildings. But 2 of the fires were set in homes where people still live. No one has been hurt yet, but it could be just a matter of time before someone is injured or killed. These fires need to be stopped. Call the Superior Police or Fire Department if you have any suspicions, or call Crime Stoppers if you need to remain anonymous. Remember, we'll pay as much as $1,000 for information on this or any felony crime. Our numbers are 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH. That's 723-3683.
It gets everybody together, and it's nice to a chance to people to share and actually get to meet their neighbors. Sorry about that. Get a little wet.
Time. All right. Okay, tell me what your name is. Okay, and tell me what your favorite part of tonight's party is.
Taking back time when all loose, playing fair and breaking loose. Taking back time when all loose, bring on the night.
Area officials would really appreciate it.
fly me. Take you up so high where the horses run free, just to drop you down into your.
I love the blues music. It makes me feel really good inside, and I think it's a music that plays on your emotions, so it can either bring out happiness or just mellow it out. It's a really great sound.
Pam McDonald and a group of her family and friends made the trek from Ontario down to Duluth to hear the magical sounds of the blues. Pam, along with hundreds of fans, congregate at Bayfront Park for some toe-tapping, head-bobbing, and hip-swaying music, and also for a few other recreational activities.
The food is excellent. Yeah, very good food. The beer is great.
With the driving beat of the drums and the agile fingers of the guitarist, fans can't help but bust the move. From finger snapping to lip syncing, it's an impulse you just can't shake.
It relaxes me. I enjoy the sound. It's upbeat. I like the gospel too. And I just find the whole weekend probably one of the most relaxing experiences that you can have.
The blues takes you into another world where work and responsibility dissolve into the sweet, smooth sounds of the harmonica, and it's almost like an addiction.
Would anything keep you away from coming back down?
No. Death. That's it.
As my sister and I said, maybe death, and I said to her, if I die, you better be at least at my funeral, then you can go.
At the festival, the blues is very much alive. In Bayfront Park, Angela Wang, Channel 6 News.
Obviously it was traveling west on Skyline, and it went off the curve here, went straight off. You can see there are some skid marks left on the road, and it went down and hit us up against a large birch tree down quite a few feet down the ravine down here.
flames or...
I live down in a gully, and I'm about a half mile away, and I could see the glow in the sky from my house when I walked out the door. Some of our other members live, 4 miles away at down 53, and they were able to see the smoke and the glow in the sky from their location. So it was a big fire.
I didn't realize that. I was, came out to see if the people were okay or if they were hurt, and then I realized, oh, my truck was parked out front. So I looked around for my truck, and I turned around, and it was over here in the neighbor's yard. And I ran over here and looked around, and I don't know. I guess they came down.
Where you are has nothing to do with the talent. You're either born with it or you foster it, and most good artists tend to be born with it.
In the small, sleepy town of Minong, where friends and neighbors grow up together, there was a rude awakening. About $15,000 of cash checks and food stamps were stolen from the IGA grocery store.
I can't believe it. I mean, this is a small town. It's something that happened in a bigger town, but not here. Not here at all.
Witnesses say around 7:40 Friday night, 3 good-looking men walked into the store. They went in the back to talk with the assistant manager. About 10 minutes later, the 3 men walked out nonchalantly. Police say during that 10-minute period, one of the men distracted the assistant manager in the produce section of the store. Meanwhile, the other 2 grabbed 4 blue bank bags and 1 brown pouch that were sitting on an office table.
By the time they figured out what had happened and they went outside to see if there was a vehicle, there was nothing around. And anybody I talked to outside didn't know anything either.
Police say this is the largest robbery in recent years for the city of Minong.
It's surprising, yes, because it is a small town, safe community, but it happens, because it's a small town doesn't mean it's going to be safe.
In Minong, Angela Wang, Channel 6 News. You may recognize this Doobie Brothers song, but what you might not know is how much work goes on behind the scenes setting up for their shows.
We show up pretty early in the morning. We got here today at 7:30 and built the sound wings and got the speaker cabinets up on the wings and started hanging lights.
From setting up speakers to putting up the food tents, a lot of work goes into getting ready for the concert. Crews have to test all the instruments to make sure they sound good and are in playing order.
We normally start at about 10 a.m. It takes me about 3 hours to get my thing going, and then I help some of the other guys out. And I'm out here checking the amps, changing the tubes, and getting everything set to go. Changing strings and maintaining the instruments is the main thing I do, though.
Well, before the show, what I usually do is set up all those drums over there. I've got 2 drummers and a percussionist. So my job is to change the heads and tune the drums up, clean them, just basically maintain the gear.
Crews have a lot of instruments to test and need to be sure they sound clear across the whole playing area.
We just have the crew do a band, kind of a line check and playing. We don't bring these stacks, the PA speakers with us. We rent those in each city for truck space reasons. And it's pretty much down to a kind of autopilot these days.
And after all the work, this year's concert is expected to be a big hit.
I was up looking at the set list, and just about every song these guys are doing tonight, it was a #1 hit during the 70s. So I think we'll see a real good crowd tonight, probably in excess of 15,000 people.
At Bayfront Park in Duluth, Kristen Kunze, Channel 6 News. People are heading towards the Iron Range from all over this weekend for one last chance to enjoy the summer. And of course, when there's people, it brings money.
Any event will bring activity to your lodging establishments or to your hotels, restaurants, campgrounds, retail establishments.
One of the largest events this weekend is the Labor Day Shootout at Hibbing Raceway.
And this is the one of, if not the biggest show in the state of Minnesota for dirt track racing. And we're kind of proud of it. It brings a lot of people in the community, and they spend a lot of money, and it helps everybody out.
It has a big impact on our community, and it's at least in the top 10 of our events throughout the year.
This year's race is expected to bring in close to 4,500 people each day from around the 5-state area and Canada.
Bringing 4,500 people into town, the motels, the gas stations, the restaurants. I think everyone pretty much fills up and runs out of product by the end of the weekend.
All the area hotels are booked, and some even have pages of waiting lists.
For Saturday night, we're completely full. For Sunday night, we have a few reservations open. We've had people book their reservations a year in advance. When they came last year, then they made the reservations for this year, because it's hard to find a room right now.
In Hibbing, Kristen Kunze, Channel 6 News.
Best thing for people to do is to stay a safe distance away from the bottles if they find them. Call 911 and let them know where the bottle is located, and the police department will come by and disarm the bomb.
Kitty Clausen has 3 children attending Albrecht School in Saginaw. She was shocked when she found out that one of the teachers at her school had pleaded guilty to criminal sexual conduct involving 2 of his 9-year-old students 13 years ago.
Which, was he in the high school or the
the grade school and whether this, sometimes they mispronounced his name. It's like, what? From Elbrook? I don't think so.
Court documents show that in 1984, Daniel Rantham, a teacher at Lester Park Elementary School in Duluth, admitted to sexually fondling 2 girls in his class. On at least 2 occasions, he took a student into the cloakroom and told her to take off her clothes. He admitted to sexually touching the student's buttocks and breast areas. He also admitted to telling the students not to tell anybody. In October of 1985, Doug Rantham pleaded guilty to 2 counts of criminal sexual conduct in the 2nd degree. He was sentenced to 21 months in prison, but as part of a plea bargain, he didn't go. Instead, he underwent psychiatric counseling.
I think once you've been convicted, you shouldn't have that temptation, because you never know if counseling helps or not until you're put back in that temptation. And when it comes to kids, they shouldn't take the chance.
When Rantham applied for a position with Albrecht School, the law did not require criminal background checks. Since then, the law has been changed, but Rantham was already hired.
I don't think that, that we can overreact to isolated situations, and I believe that this is somewhat unique, and I'm not sure that there are too many situations like this.
The school district's attorney is reviewing the case, and until it's completed, school officials say there will be no decision on Rantham's future with the school. Many parents told us they trust the school board will take care of the situation.
My kids are safe here at this school. They always have been. Like I said, I went to school here and I was safe at this school. So, no, I'm not worried about that.
In Saginaw, Angela Wang, Channel 6 News.
I thought maybe it was mispronounced the name or mispronounced.
Nice to us.
Yeah. We want to have our kids have good experience when they're playing sports within our community, and with better trained coaches. Coaches that have a better background because of what they're going to find in this resource center, the kids are going to have that better experience. They're going to be taught properly, and they're going to be taught safely.
Where's the resource center going to be located?
It's going to be in the Central Hillside Community Center. Any other questions?
Oh, we're just you know. Like this right here? Yep. Okay.
There is no festival like this in Duluth. It's a marvelous opportunity for people to get to know who the growers are, to have a chance to talk face to face with people who are producing food here, and it is a heck of a lot of fun to put on.
Did you hear that?
No, this one's
Unger, Charlotte, and Chris, huh?
Yeah. Someone that was right there.
Oh, I know it, just one from you.
But I bet the Michigan Street Construction has.
Well, I think so too. That is Lois Jean. Right here.
Lois Jean.
Yep. Oh, 1 o'clock.
Seven more.
So pink and pretty. And give this to the lady on her table over there.
Thank you.
Okay. And your last name? Nora.
Oh, many times. Many times.
Right here.
Yeah, okay.
You know how it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You just make the one line.
Then you can sit over here. James Patrick. Sign your name right here.
The Scoop at Esco High is a tribute to the students that run it.
Welcome to Richmond. What can I get you?
Students wait on customers, order supplies and make schedules for workers, even balance the books. Students are also a large part of the ice cream shop's clientele. And now, the Scoop's on the move.
The new school that they're building is going to be coming down
all the way up through the Lincoln gym there, where we were, and where the scoop is located right now, the new school will be in place of that, so we need to move the building.
This is an exciting day for ESCO students. The scoop is moving, and their business is looking up. About a block further up the road, to be exact. It's a short jaunt, but moving a building is not easy.
The building itself is 10 tons, and it's 1,500 square feet, and several hundred pounds of ice cream.
Moving the business has also cleared the way for growth. A full-service restaurant may soon be in the works.
And so there'd be a pizza place and the scoop, and that would bring in a lot of business, because then it'd be the only restaurant really in ESCO.
Right now it's kind of more to students in the day and adults in the evening. You know, when we move it, we're going to hope it'll bring in more adults during the daytime as well.
With enterprising youngsters at the helm, who knows? Successful student-operated businesses might just become a trend.
We're trying to get some more students from other surrounding schools in to work with us. You know, try to get them into the business. I think that every school should have something like this.
Northlanders seeking racial harmony got a rude awakening today.
Unbelievable. You know, you feel you're sheltered from this kind of stuff up here.
According to the national organization Klan Watch, people shouldn't be too surprised. They keep figures on hate groups in the country and say that there are over 20 hate groups between Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. These groups include skinheads, neo-Nazis, and Ku Klux Klan. Klan Watch suggests staying away from groups like this. They also call for communities to unite and offer alternative activities. That responsibility fell on Zion Lutheran Church, which held a prayer meeting for all denominations to attend.
Basically, we're holding a church service. We have anywhere between, I'd say, 200 and 225 people here. People are coming and going, and there's things to do for the children downstairs. And
The KKK rally here in Ironwood turned out to be the gathering that wasn't. Only 14 members of the Klan and a small number of onlookers turned out. The sad thing is that $20,000 of Ironwood money was wasted on materials and police force for the rally. Also, this hate group could throw their message on deaf ears.
If they feel it's right to rob us of money or something, to put something like this on without like all of our okays or something, I didn't get no slip being asked, would you like the KKK to come to your town?
That's absolutely sickening that we got to spend $20,000, you know, to protect these people. I mean, they should have to pay for it. If they want to hold their meetings and that's fine, but they should have to protect for the security and stuff. We shouldn't have to. We need a lot more, you know, parks and everything else around here fixed up instead of this bunch of baloney.
In Ironwood, Justin Acree, Channel 6 News.
It was Summer's way of saying goodbye.
At first it sounded very, very loud, like a freight train.
A tornado that tore apart the land Rita Brown has called home for 40 years.
I mean, you feel like crying, but you're just happy that you're alive and that everybody else around you is alive.
Alive, but feeling uprooted.
That's just a tabletop. Here's one of my plants.
Her laugh and her lantern will keep her going through the night.
But perhaps the true test of spirit came this morning, when darkness could no longer hide the details of the devastation.
This is where it stood. This is the footing it's set on.
Les Sneakin knew daylight would tell the complete story.
So I think we'll be cleaning here for a year.
Today, he's worried about his animals. Last night, he was worried for his life.
When I looked out over there, you could just see the trees just... And then I said, what in the devil are you going to do?
He did the only thing he could, huddled under a milk tank next to his beloved cows. Not all of them made it.
6 cows for sure, and I think 2 or 3 calves that we lost.
Here. Next time we got no fences to hold them because they're all gone, you know. Get in here.
Come on, guys, get up here.
Fences and pens will need to be repaired, equipment replaced.
Well, I'd say that's, what, 400 or 500 feet at least from where that wind picked that up and took it.
Winds may have left the barn and silo in shambles, but 3 generations of Neekins are still intact, ready to begin again.
The Sacred Heart Church may have closed in 1985, but its spirit still lives on today. The building is now the Sacred Heart Music Center, and after a much-needed restoration, the people who run it hope that its vaulted ceilings soon ring again with classical music.
You know, we've been having concerts here for over 3 years, and sometimes we have had this place completely packed with the balconies filled, and it's very exciting.
To fund the renovation, the Music Center held an antique sale with items donated by the community. The sale was a smashing success, with everything selling out long before the end of the sale.
We sold thousands of dollars, and hundreds of people came to support the effort. This is a landmark building. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. It's 101 years old. The organ turns 100 years old next year, and it's a gorgeous building, and we are desperate to renovate it and make it, put it into full use in the community.
It's hoped that the renovation will have progressed far enough by October to begin the next series of concerts. In Duluth, Dave Anderson, Channel 6 News.
Lambeau Field, home of the frozen tundra, the Green Bay Packers, and more importantly, the first of 2 installments in '97 of the Minnesota-Wisconsin border battle.
I've always looked at the Packer-Viking game as being a rival game, probably the top game in Green Bay for the last 4 or 5 years.
It's going to be a great day. Viking fans are going to leave crying and go back to Minnesota disappointed, and we're going to sit out here and tailgate till sunset.
These two teams split last year, and the 2 annual meetings are becoming increasingly important to fans.
Doesn't matter what color you wear, we're all here for the same purpose, to cheer on the Vikings.
Purple is always here. Devoted fans. Green Bay's got good fans. But last year was your year, this year is our year.
The players acknowledge the rivalry as well and have a real dislike of each other.
I think they spent more energy telling us how bad they hate us than actually playing at one point.
I also learned it's tough to be a Packer fan in Minneapolis.
I get beat up quite a bit, and you know, the Packers have always had a better team, and the Viking fans don't appreciate that very much. But
Today's game started at noon, but the real battle that really counts, the War of the Words, began long before and will continue long after until game number 2 between these 2 teams is over.
Has anybody ever really taken a look at the nutritional value on this bar? Look at this, my friends. The Brett Favre bar, 10 grams of fat. In this bar, 6 saturated grams of fat.
When the game was finally in hand, Vikings fans were not happy, but at least realistic and hopeful.
Packers haven't won the Metrodome for 3 years. Let's continue that pace. We'll split the series and be happy.
And what will happen in that second game is anybody's guess.
I hate the Metrodome. I absolutely hate the Metrodome. Football is meant to be played on a day like this, outside, green grass and blue sky, and the Metrodome. This year we're going to beat the Chicks, so we're going to beat them.
Justin Acree, Channel 6 Sports.
Teachers, and all these people have boxes all over, and so it gets distributed. You know, school.
The board doesn't think it should have to negotiate the policies. You know, the policies have been in effect, this one for 27 years. Now, if it's found out to be unconstitutional or whatever it's found out to be, that's another case. But it's an expensive way to get clarification.
The Duluth Rose Garden is one of the most beautiful places to visit in the Northland, and this year there's been more time to enjoy it.
It is a different year because of all the warm weather that we've been having. Things that should be out of bloom, it should be dying back, are reblooming instead, and so it's been a long
really good season.
With our mega doses of sunshine and warmth, it's hard to believe that winter will soon be on its way. But Master Gardener Edith Peterson says it will be here before we know it, and we should be using this great weather to our advantage.
We should really be cleaning up our gardens now and getting rid of all the debris that's in there so that disease and pests don't overwinter.
While it's important to put your garden to bed properly, you shouldn't ignore your lawn going into winter. It too needs a little TLC.
The winter's really hard on the lawn, you know, especially around here. And if it gets a good base of fertilizer on it now, especially something that's slow release, it really help the lawn green up early and better in the spring.
Once the lawn and gardens are winterized, it'll be time to plan ahead to next summer's rich green turf and multicolored blooms.
In our business, of course, winter is planning time, and for the gardener, it's also planning time. That's the time when they should be designing their next year's garden, and they should think about designing a garden that is going to be pretty in winter as well as in summer. But winter is a time for planning, so gardening never ends.